Okay, hello and welcome to something a bit different today. Because as you can see, today I'm not actually playing something. Today, I'm sure you've seen a whole bunch of people do this. I'm gonna start running through this thing and basically just filling out this big sheet of my favorite Pokemon. Like my favorite one of each type per region. Well, per gen, I suppose, would be a more accurate statement. So we have all the types, our favourite starter, gimmick form, legend, and then the overall favourite. And down here we have, like, a final team, favourite box art, legendary, mythical, EV evolution, all that jazz. So I don't know if this'll be, like... So I don't know if I'll do this in, like, 2 or 3 bits, or depending on how long each bit takes, this may end up as multiple videos, who knows. So, today we're going to start up with Gen 1, and we'll see how far we get in the allotted time. Because obviously I'm going to have some explanations for some Pokemon, and some will just be, I like this thing a lot. So, Gen 1, away we go. Normal types. For a second I thought it just auto-filled all of these in. Okay, so, I have a few normal types in Gen 1 that I like. I have mentioned previously, I think, that I do genuinely like Raticate. I think it's kind of cool. And if this was based solely on the anime would carry Pidgeotto and Meowth to top 2, with Snorlax being number 3. Eevee, I can't really make the argument for, because my argument against Eevee is always just, well, why? I've never kept an Eevee as an Eevee. Like, I'm always going to evolve it into one of its forms that I like better. So, it's either Pidgeotto, maybe Pidgeot actually, because I love Pidgeot's plumage. I think it looks so cool. I do like Fearow though, and Tauros is kind of cool. Porygon's out. It's not going to be Porygon. Although Dodrio, I do really like Dodrio, even if Game Freak has consistently given it the short end of the stick, I think. Okay, for now I'm going to say Snorlax, because it's, well, one, it's just Snorlax, it's super reliable, everyone likes Snorlax. But Dodrio is a maybe. I might move it over there. I might put Dodrio in flying, but I'll see when I get there. But for now I'm going to say Snorlax. Also, I will state this in advance. I'm going to try to make it so I show multiple other Pokemon. Like, multiple different ones. So, for example, let's say when I get to water, I pick Lapras. Like, water and ice won't both be Lapras. Because I feel like that way... Because, I don't know, I feel like I feel like I get to show more of the Pokemon that I like. And also, there are very few times where my favourite is my favourite of both. Anyway, onto fire types in Generation 1. Okay, so Gen 1 fire types, there's none of them that I dislike, but if I was gonna list them as my top 5, it would probably be 5, 4, 3, 2, Arcanine is number 1. Like, I do not have enough good words for Arcanine. My only issue that I have ever had with Arcanine is the fact that it's a stone evolution, so you don't get moves for it once you evolve it. However, that's not necessarily true, it does get a couple of moves. But at the same time, in Gen 8 and Gen 9, you can get a fully set up Arcanine before the first gym, especially in Gen 8. So, like, I don't really have any complaints. Arcanine is just really great. I love its design, it's fast, it's strong. It is genuinely a fantastic Pokemon. So, we're just going to move right on over to Gen 1 water types. And... okay, I can knock out a few of these immediately. It's not Shellder or Cloyster, it's not Krabby or Kingler. Even though I do like these two, it ain't them. Seal and Dugong, same thing. I like them, but it's not going to be them. Gouldine and Seaking, let's be real, it's never going to be them. Staryu? Nah. Starmie? No. Gyarados is kind of a monster. Like, I do really like Gyarados in playthroughs. I say that, I think I've used Gyarados in a playthrough, like, maybe once. And, yeah, it was really good, but it's definitely nowhere near my favourite water type. So, the way I'm looking at this is, once again, I've narrowed it down to a top 5. So that is Poliwhirl, Wartortle, Blastoise, Tentacruel, and Slowbro. Vaporeon would be number 6, and Alberial Lapras already has Ice-type locked down, because I'm probably not going... Like, I'll probably avoid legendaries for the most part in the main bit of here. However, once I get to, like, Gen 6, 7, 8, and 9, some will end up there, just because there's a lot of Pokemon that I don't care for in a lot of the later gens. So, here's the thing. I always thought Blastoise was really cool, because, you know, it's a cool turtle, tortoise, yeah, it's a tortoise, because, you know, it's a toise, it's a tortoise, whatever, and it has cannons coming out of its back. That's super cool. Slowbro, I always just liked it. I always thought it was just a goofy little guy. Same with Slowpoke, I always loved that. And Wartortle, I always thought was super cool. But here's the thing. When it comes to my favourite, it's like, which one am I going to use in a playthrough? Which one do I like the most to have on a team? And I'll be honest, yeah, the answer's Tentacruel. What? That, I accidentally clicked Slowpoke. No, it's Tentacruel. Because when I was a kid, I did not care for Tentacool or Tentacruel at all. I could not stand them. Zubats of the sea, they said. Because, you know, you'd find them absolutely everywhere when you are surfing. Unless you were playing Gen 3, then it was like, hey, they only appear if you're fishing. Like, for some reason, they only appear when you're fishing in Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald, if I recall correctly. But then I actually sat down and used one in a playthrough. I think it was in Platinum. It would make a lot of sense if it was in Platinum. I've played through Platinum a great many times. And, yeah, it turns out it's actually really good. Turns out it's pretty fast. It's pretty strong. It's bulky. It's got a lot of good stuff going for it. Like, obviously, I'm not really going to talk about anything in a competitive sense, because I don't play or particularly care for competitive Pokemon. But I imagine Tentacruel is probably pretty solid in that as well, because it probably gets access to Toxic Spikes and a whole bunch of other stuff. But yeah, Tentacruel, over the years, has gone from a Pokemon I could not care less about to my favourite water type in Gen 1. Grass type is a 2-horse race. It is Bulbasaur or Vileplume. And if you asked me again to remake this tomorrow, it could very well be the others. Because Oddish and Bulbasaur, their lines are basically the same to me. Because, like, first evolution that I absolutely adore, second evolution that I'm kind of meh on, and then a third evolution that I really like. But I think I'm going to say Vileplume. However, special mention to Victory Bell, because Victory Bell gets a massive boost from the anime just because of the sound it makes. I just love the goofy, dumb sound it makes. Just that weird screech it does. I love that. But no, it's Vileplume. I really like Vileplume. Not to disparage Bulbasaur at all. I adore Bulbasaur. Okay, moving on. Electric types. This is a 3-horse race. Magneton is disqualified, because Magneton is immediately here for Steel types. Because Magneton are the only Steel types in Gen 1, because, you know, Steel type was added in Gen 2. So, Electric types. This is a 3-horse race between Electabuzz, Jolteon, and Raichu. And they all have their advantages, and by that I mean they are all very fast. Well, they're all pretty fast. Jolteon, I think it's like Jolteon, Raichu, Electabuzz in speed order. But I think I'm leaning towards Electabuzz. Like, I'm never upset if I get any of these 3 on my team in a game, though, because they are all super good. But I think Electabuzz wins out for one reason and one reason only, and it is... God, what's he called? I think he's called, like, Ryder Hordle or something in Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. you find him at the outskirts stand, and he gives you a Shadow Togepi, and says, hey, can you purify this Shadow Togepi for me? So you go, you do it, and then he gives you a Pokemon in return. He gives you an Elekid that has the Elemental Punches and Cross Charp, and it is so good for the entire remainder of the game. And from there, I just really liked Electabuzz. Turns out I never really got to use one in a playthrough for a good while, because it turns out I was really good at picking the games that had Magmar in and not Electabuzz. But I also really, really like Magmar as well. They are super good. And I love how they are kind of like an intrinsically linked pair. Kind of like how in Gen 1 Cypher and Pinsir were, but from Gen 2 onwards they, you know, kind of put Cypher... They kind of like moved Cypher to be on its own, but Heracross and Pinsir were a pair. But anyway, yeah, I really do like Electabuzz. But Raichu and Jolteon are like millimeters right next to it. And also when I get to Gen 4, Electivire is probably taking Electric type from there too. Ice type. It's not going to be Jinx. It's never going to be Jinx. Cloyster, never been a massive fan, but I always kind of like Shelder more. I love Seal and Dugong. I think they're super cute, but I don't care for them all that much as Pokemon. But Lapras, I mean, you get one for free. It's super good. It's super reliable. It's strong. It's bulky. It's basically everything you would need in a playthrough. It's a good Nuzlocke Pokemon. It's a good, solid in-game Pokemon. And I love its design. And I will probably mention it when I get to gimmick forms, or when I talk about it in Gen 8. I think its Gigantamax is really good and honestly kind of genius for it. I love Gigantamax Lapras. It probably won't be winning for gimmick forms, I just wanted to mention it. Okay, so, up next is Fighting types. Fighting type is kind of limited in Gen 1, but, well, I do have a liking for Primeape. That has definitely grown over time, because I'll be honest, when I first played the game, I did not care for Primeape at all. Poliwrath is unfortunately in kind of like stone dead last for this. Poliwrath was never going to be the answer here. And then we have Machop, Machoke, Machamp. I think all of those are really cool. I think Machoke is probably my favorite. I think Machoke is probably my favorite of them, despite the fact that its arms are like really weird, because it's like the muscle is like tearing out or something. It's really kind of gross if you think about it. But like, Machamp is super good. But here's the thing. It's all about Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee. And I always liked Hitmonlee more, so Hitmonlee is the winner. However, I will say this, Hitmonchan has like really fast punches, and Hitmonlee has like spring legs. So what I'm saying is, Gen 9 they introduced a whole bunch of Paradox Pokemon, and the idea that Pokemon could like fuse in a way, because they had the art that was like all of the legendary beasts and all of the Swords of Justice fused together, that we then kind of saw as Walking Wick and as Iron Leaves. So what I'm saying is, hey, make a Paradox Pokemon of that, put it in Arms 2. Is Nintendo ever going to make Arms 2? I don't know. Maybe. Who knows? Anyway, we're going to now move on to Poison type. And Gen 1 has so much poison. There's so much poison in Generation 1. So, once again, so the winners here are Tentacruel, who is not going to be included. Like, Tentacruel and Vileplume are out, because they have already been listed. Gengar and Ghastly and Haunter are out, because they are the only ghost types. Which leaves me with a difficult choice. It leaves me with Muck, Bulbasaur and Venusaur again, or Venomoth, or Nidorino. This is perhaps going to be the most controversial take in... like, honestly, out of everything that will appear on here, I think this may be the most controversial take I'll put forward. I think I like Nidorino more than I like Nidoking. Like, obviously I will use a Nidoking in a playthrough probably more, just because it gets way more move pool variety and everything. But I just like Nidorino. Like, I always thought it was super cool. I loved its design. Maybe it's just because when you know the original opening of Pokemon? You have Nidorino fighting Gengar. And I think that's just where my love for Nidorino as a Pokemon kind of just came from. But here's the thing. Oh, also, if this was being based exclusively, and I mean exclusively on the anime, there would be no hesitation here. It would be shared. It would be shared between them. Do not separate them. With Arbok and Weezing. Because Team Rocket's original Pokemon, I guess by extension Ekans and Koffing, but it's mostly Arbok and Weezing. Like, that is right there. That is a core childhood memory of just like, those Pokemon are so good, and when they finally had to say goodbye to them, genuinely, it's such a sad, but, like, it's such a sad moment in the anime, but they know they're doing it for the right reason. But anyway, it's not going to be Arbok or Weezing for this. It is actually going to be Venomoth. And I have a good reason for this. I really like Venomoth, and I don't think it ever gets the recognition that it deserves. However, Venomoth might get a place for the bug types. I'll tentatively put it here, but I might move it for bugs. We'll see. Okay, ground types. This is, honestly, a very easy answer for me, because, well, there are two Pokemon on here that I'm looking at, and I know that they are the correct answers for me. Now, I love Sandslash. I love Sandslash to death. I wish it was better than it is. And I quite like Marowak. But here's the thing. I'm also going to answer Rock type here right now, because these two are interchangeable for me, because I love them both equally. So, we are going to say Rhydon and Golem. Because I adore both Rhydon and Golem, and they're both ground rock, well, they're both rock and ground types. So, yeah, they are absolutely my picks here. Okay, so up next is Flying type, which is incredibly broad in this game. Well, in this gen. I mean, Flying type's kind of just broad in general, because, like, is this Pokemon a bird of any description? Yes. Is this Pokemon a dragon? If yes, it will probably have Flying type. So, here's the thing. It could be Charizard. It could be Dodrio. It's probably Dodrio. Is it Dodrio? Yeah, it's Dodrio. I like Dodrio more than I like Dodrio more than Charizard, more than Pidgeot, more than Golbat, more than Fearow, more than Gyarados, more than Aerodactyl. Dragonite's disqualified on account of it's the only dragon, and the legendary birds are legendaries, so it's gonna be Dodrio. Psychic type is going to be a win for Slowbro, because I like Slowbro, I like Slowbro over all the other Psychic types. Simple as that. With Slowpoke probably being a very close second if I was including legendaries. Mewtwo, I do really like Mewtwo. The first movie is phenomenal, even to this day. Like, but I do think I like Slowbro more than Mewtwo. Like, Mewtwo is one of my favorite legendaries. Like, okay, when I talk about legendaries I like, I will probably go on about this for a while, because there's a lot of legends I do quite like, but I tend to not use them in playthroughs or anything anymore. Yes, I am fully aware that I used a fair few legendaries in my playthroughs, but like if I'm doing a casual playthrough, I haven't used a legendary in a very long time. But yeah, Slowbro is taking home the one for Psychic types. And because I had to pass over it for Flying type, for Dodrio, I'll be honest, I love Cypher. I like Cypher so much more than I like Scizor. Pinsir, I loved Pinsir when I was a kid. I thought it was so cool, and then it never got anything ever again. I mean, it got a Mega Evolution, and I hate the Mega Evolution. I think it looks weird. But here's the thing, it's not going to be Parasect. It's not going to be Venomoth, because it's already there. And I would be lying to myself if I said Butterfree wasn't the pick. Butterfree is that Pokemon. It's one of the originals. It's been there since the start. It's one of my favourite bug types even now. And I think the anime also gets a massive boost out of this. Like, I think Butterfree also gets a huge boost because of the anime. Because, look, look, I was like 3 years old, I think. I was probably like 3 years old when I first saw the episode, Bye Bye Butterfree. And then I saw it every now and then, because, you know, I would get like an intermittent errands. And it was just one of those episodes that I found just like bitterly upsetting as a kid. And then, here I am, December 2022, 1200 and something episodes later, and Butterfree came home. Genuinely, ever since that episode aired, that screenshot has been in my desktop wallpaper. The fact that Ash's adventure was coming to an end and Butterfree came home is so good. I love that so much. And Butterfree in general is just one of my favorite bugs in general. Like, even with all the like bugs that would come later, they're cooler. Some are cooler, some are stronger. But I just love Butterfree too much to not include it. Okay, moving on. Ghosts. This is Haunter or Gengar. These two kind of interchangeable for me, but I think I'm gonna go with Gengar just because I like. I don't know why I'm gonna say Gengar, to be totally honest. Like, I like them both equally, but Gengar's the one I kind of relied on in playthroughs more. It's like, cool, I got a Haunter, can't wait to get a Gengar, because like, I could get a Gengar, it has higher stats, it's more reliable. However, I do like Haunter's kind of like weird glowing hands. I thought that was kind of cool. And I think Haunter typically had cooler looking sprites. However, Gengar does have a couple of absolutely... Like, Gengar has a couple of sprites that make it look like a menace. And to be fair, Gengar is really cool. I do still love Gengar and Haunter. I love them about equally, but I think Gengar takes it. Dragon? Well, it's going to be Dragonite, isn't it? He's just everyone's favourite goofy little dragon. I'm going to have to do a little fact check to see how little Dragonite is. I'll be honest, I'm very inconsistent with my knowledge of Pokemon heights. For all I know, Dragonite could be anywhere between like 5'2" and like 7'3". I don't know why, but I think 7'3" sounds about right. Maybe that's like 6'11", who knows. I will bring up the little thing to say. How close was I? Probably quite far off. Dark type, Gen 1 didn't have any dark types. So we have... I think I'm just going to say the Ghost, because it fits in best. But I do really like the Skeletons. I do love the skeletal versions of Kabutops and Aerodactyl. I think those are super cool. Steel type, it is Magneton. Magneton will remain as my favourite Steel type for a very long time in this list, because honestly, it's still one of my favourites now. I didn't think much of it as a kid, but then I actually used one in a playthrough, and if you've seen my previous playthroughs, you may have noticed I have had a Magneton in 3 of my 5 Pokemon playthroughs up to now, and it has survived pretty well in all of them. I won't say what their ultimate fates were, but they were very good, very reliable members of the team in every single playthrough up to now. So, Fairy type, the final regular type. And I'll be honest, this will be a thing I debate with myself for almost every region, because I pretty much do not care for the Fairy type's existence. There's maybe like 5 or 6 Fairy types total that I don't hate. And by that I mean, almost all of them are in Gen 7. It's not the Tapus. Spoiler alert, it's Alolan, Ninetales, and Mimikyu. I'll just say that outright, because honestly, I don't like Fairy type very much. It's not a type I like. Is it because I'm a Dragon type and Dark type enjoyer? Maybe. Who knows? It's not just because it's not the fact that they were introduced as a kind of 2 of my favorite types. But I'm gonna move on. The answer for this is I don't actually know. It could be, honestly, Clefairy, Clefable, Jigglypuff, or Wigglytuff. I don't really care. I think I'm gonna say Jigglypuff, based solely on the fact that I managed when I was a kid, I could never beat the final mission, the final event match in Smash Melee, where you have to fight. I think it's Bowser. I think it's like Giga Bowser, Ganondorf, and some other third opponent that I am completely blanking out on right now. Oh, and I only ever managed to beat it by playing Jigglypuff. And it's going to honestly kind of bug me that I don't remember who the last one is, but here we are. So yeah, it's going to be Jigglypuff, I think. That, and also, I always laughed. When I was a kid, I always found it funny when Jigglypuff turned up, sang, put everyone to sleep, and then just drew on their faces. I always thought that was funny when I was a kid. Okay, moving on. Favorite starter Pokemon. So, for Generation 1, I'm discounting Pikachu and Eevee straight away. Because I didn't play Let's Go, and I didn't really like Pokemon Yellow. I'll be honest, Pokemon Yellow is, it's got some issues. I mean, it's Gen 1. Gen 1 in general has some issues. But for all of these, I'm just going to go for the Fire, Water, Grass trio. And for this one, for Gen 1 especially, I think this is a really tough call. Because I love Bulbasaur, Charmander, and Squirtle. If this was for middle evolutions, it would be Charmeleon. Easy. Like, if it was for final evolutions, it would probably be like Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur, but it'd be really close. If it was for middle evolutions, it'd be Charmeleon, Wartortle, and then... No, it'd probably be Blastoise, Charizard, Venusaur, Charmeleon, Wartortle, Ivysaur. But I think at their base form, I think it's Bulbasaur. You could ask me again tomorrow and I might say Charmander or Squirtle, but, like, I like Bulbasaur most, but if I'm doing a playthrough, I probably want Charmander or Squirtle more. Because I think they're just a bit more fun to work with, and also it's just like, I don't know, but I do love Bulbasaur. I think a lot of that also comes down to the anime, but then again, Squirtle and Charmander also got a lot of boosts from the anime as well. So this one could be any of the three. I could move this around to any of them and be happy with the result. So I'll just say Bulbasaur for now, but realistically, I don't have a favourite out of the three. So, Gimmick Forms, because we are nearly done here. So, this comes down to two. Basically, this is a two-horse race. Gigantamax Blastoise, where it's like a full-on fortress. I think that's super cool. I also kind of like the really overgrown... I really like the overgrown Venusaur. And I love how Charizard gets like even cooler, larger, burning wings. I think that's super cool. But it comes down to two for me. I love Lapras being an actual ship. I think that's super cool and fits perfectly with it. But when it comes down to it, it's Charizard X. It's Charizard, it finally gets to be a proper dragon, and also, on top of that, it does the really cool thing where it's like, oh, it gets blue flames. Because when things get blue flames, they just look cooler. So I'm actually going to do an example right now. I will quickly switch this to Ponyta, click this, make it shiny. Ponyta with blue flames looks way cooler. And now we just do this and change this back to Arcanine. So, my favorite legendary from Generation 1. It's not Mew. I don't really care for Mew. I don't like most of the mythicals, to be honest. Moltres, I do like Moltres. I think it's criminally underrated, but it's not my favorite. So that brings it down to Articuno, Zapdos, and Mewtwo. And honestly, kind of just flip a coin, and I mean, that's not really an accurate one, because, you know, there's 3 options. Okay, I think I'm going to rule out Articuno. I do love Articuno, though, because I think Ice-type is super cool. No pun intended. I think I'm going to say Zapdos, though. Mostly because I feel more comfortable using a Zapdos in a playthrough. I think I've just used Zapdos more and always just liked it. I know, I think it's just, I just love its design a whole bunch, I think. Not to say anything bad against Mewtwo, though. I do really like Mewtwo. I also almost completely forgot about Mewtwo Y. Mega Mewtwo Y is super cool. I love Mega Mewtwo Y as well. But I think I'm going to say Zapdos for this. Okay, so with that, that is Kanto complete. And we've been going half an hour, so I guess this will be the end of part 1 for this. As I go on with this, I might change a couple of things, I might reevaluate a couple. But for now, I'm going to end this one off here, and I guess I'll be making a series out of this. And hopefully these, and if these do go for as long as, like if all of these go as long as this does, I guess this will be a full series. I'll do the final favorites at the end though. And yeah, I guess that'll be it for Gen 1. So I guess I'll end end this off here. So feel free to leave a comment or click any buttons down below if you feel so inclined. I will leave a link to this in the description. And yeah, thanks for watching. Hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Okay, later.